Good day, everyone. Our learning objective for today is to identify the often confusing learning theories between constructivism and constructionism. Then identify the constructionism and the elements of constructionist learning environment. And also, we have to understand some of the constructionist theory-based therapy models. So let's go. But before that, we are going to here are the 6 major theoretical counseling theories, which is first is humanistic, cognitive, behavioral, psychoanalytic, systematic, and constructionist. So what is this time is constructionist? Let's discuss constructionist. According to Rob and Rob, in a teaching learning framework, a constructivist teacher sets up the learning environment for the students that fosters individual learning and presents a problem to be solved, while the students go on their way to produce a personally meaningful artifact without any further teacher's intervention. So, on the other hand, the constructionist teacher sets up the environment for collaborative learning for students. So, then he or she defines the problem to be solved and the meaningful end product to be developed, and then guides them to reach towards the goal. So, the meaning of under this constructivism, so example is the teacher encourages the student to think or to construct knowledge based on the materials presented by the teacher. So, and here the learning is based on individual interpretations of the experience. So, there is a teachings after reading example, after reading a certain books or novels or something, watching stories, you have to construct the ideas based on what you have read or based on what you have watched, or that's it. So while under the constructionist learning theory, the students learns when they participate on a certain learning activities, or let's also relate it to the love life. So you cannot just learn or to say what love life is, something like that. So you have to experience it. You have to say that, ay ganito, love life is like this. So para you just, what do you call this one? So under the constructionist learning theory, so the simple definition of here is like learning by making. Ibig sabihin, the students may learn something if they get involved or participate in a certain activities. Or example, in terms of love life naman, so anong tawag nito? So this one, you have not just to say love is suspended of many things, you don't have any experience yet when it comes to love life. Hindi pwede sabihin na you have just read many books, novels, watching love stories, and you say that love is like this. But unless you have to experience it by yourself. Nasubukan mo kung paano ma-in love. That is what we call, that is under the learning under the constructionist theory. So that's it. So under naman dito sa constructivism, this theory is presented by John Piaget, which is asserting that knowledge is not simply transmitted from teacher to student, but actively constructed in the mind of the learner. So learners daw kasi don't just receive ideas, rather they create them from their own base of knowledge. So that's what I have said. After you reading a certain book, so you will construct knowledge based on that materials. So that is constructivism. So when it comes to constructionism, this is by Seymour Papert presented this theory on the constructionism. We suggest that new ideas are most likely to be created when learners are actively engaged in building some type of external artifact that can reflect upon and share with others. So, yung sinabi ko kanina, the learning here is based on collaboration. So, the students will learn if they get involved in an actual meaningful experience, or actual activity. So, example, cooking. Magluluto ka. So, hindi pwede sabihin ng teacher na magluluto ka ng ganito just based on a theory, just reading a books. Under the constructionism, the students must get involved in a certain activity. Example, cooking. So, when they involve in cooking, slicing the ingredients, or call this one, the onions, garlics, they're going to slice, they are going to cook it. So, maintindihan nila yon. So, this is they will learn based on their actual experience. And same to love life din naman. So when they experience love, so they can say, they can learn what love is. So that's it. So next one is constructionist counseling. So constructionist counseling theory hold that knowledge is merely an invented or constructed understanding of actual events in the world. So while actual events in the world can trigger people's meaning-making processes, it is those meaning-making processes rather than events themselves. So that determines how people think, feel, and behave. So constructionist counselors work collaboratively with the clients to examine and revise problematic client constructionists of yourself in the world. So the constructionist counseling theories hold that knowledge is merely an invented or constructed understanding of actual events in the world. So while these actual events in the world can trigger people's meaning-making processes, it is also those meaning-making processes rather than events itself that determines how people think, behave, or feel. So kumbaga, hindi siya actual events ang though it triggers the problems, halimbawa, but it is how you perceive, how you construct, how you interpret the events. So yun ang dito under this constructionist counseling theory. So ang trabaho, the work of the constructionist counselors is collaboratively engage or work with the clients to examine and revise the client construction of the self, kung paano niya iintindi ang sarili niya. So, and his relationship with the world. So, kumbaga na problema siya. So, yun. So, under the constructionist counseling, here are some of the currently preferred constructionist theory-based therapy models include yung solution-focused brief theory, narrative theory, feminist theory, Ericksonian therapy, and identity negotiation counseling.
Good day. I'm here to explain the solutions-focused brief therapy. This therapy, according to the presentation, it focuses on a person presence and future circumstances and goals rather than the past experiences. So, in my own understanding, this therapy aims to help the people to experience the difficulty to um, and to also find the solution or find the tools that can help to cope up the challenges. And also, this therapy is a goal-oriented therapy. Also, it involves the first developing or a visions of one futures and then the and also tinutulungan nito yung client na ma-determine yung mga internal abilities nila and also para ma-enhance yung mga kakayahan nila in order po to attain the desired outcome ng client. Okay, the next therapy is narrative therapy. According to the presentation, it is the method of a therapy that separates a person from their problem. Also, it encouraged the people to rely on their own skills to minimize problems that exist in their lives. So, according to Miss Main Angelou, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. So, meaning po nun, ako sa sarili ko, ako lang yung nakakaalam ng kwento ko. Malalaman lang yun ng iba kung ikukwento ko sa kanila. So, since this therapy is a narrative therapy, hinahayaan po nila na yung client na mag-share ng personal stories nila and then the counselor give the meaning about the story. Parang binibigyan nila kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng mga problema nila, na-identify nila yung mga dominant plot ng story. And also, the counselor let the client to tell the story. For example, ako as a client, ang problem ko is not to go to school. Then the counselor is first step na gagawin niya is to externalizing the problems. Then after to externalize the problems, nalaman niya na yung problem niya kaya hindi pumapasok ng school is the fear and worry dahil natatakot siya at nangangamba. Then after, next is the deconstructing the plot. It is the unique outcome question. The counselor are asking some question to the client, and the next step is to ask the perspective question. Then also the counselor ask the opening sense question, and also the identify story question, and lastly is to create the counterplots. Dun na para maano nila yung role po ng narrator sa kanyang own story. The next therapy is a feminist therapy. This therapy was developed in response to the many challenges women have faced throughout the history. Since before, parang na discriminate yung mga babae dahil sinasabi nila na dahil babae ka, sa bahay ka lang. Since babae ka, hindi ka pwedeng mag-work. Ang gagawin mo lang is yung mga gawaing bahay, maglaba, magluto, magsaing, or yung mga gawaing bahay lang yung pwede mong gawin. So since the feminist therapy was developed, the social transformation is arise po dito. So this therapy is addresses po the concerns of the people about their gender. For example, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and the gender variant individuals. Also, included din po dito yung mga person with special needs or ignorance po and more. Sila po kasi yung mga nakaka-experience ng oppression, so that the client will be able to find a treatment that can inspire the social transformation in addition to the addressing in the mental health concerns. Also this therapy is focuses on supporting the feminists in those the treatment to work or to overcome the limitations and the restrictions between the gender roles, socialization, identity development, and self-concept are all explored during the therapy in order to promote the empowerment. But always remember that feminist therapy is prevent the bias, and also the gender is important in this concept. So, ang tanong ng karamihan sa feminist therapy, is feminist therapy available for men? Before, the feminist therapy is consisted of women helping a woman. But in a present day, the feminist therapy is open to the couples, family, and the children, and also the people of any gender. So next is the identity renegotiation or IR. In our presentation, sorry for the typo, I forget the identity. So the identity renegotiation is a unique among approaches to the mental health because it emphasizes the ways in which individual experience and relational processes are influenced by the environment. According to my understanding, the identity renegotiation is that everyone that is capable of change, and change can be coordinate with our families, loved ones, employers, and others. Um, Also with the awareness of social courses. So also the people can replace and modify the identities that threaten their well-being. Using the identity renegotiation, people are more comfortable with the process of creating a meaningful relationship in a variety of formats, including the video, phone, and emails.
The identity renegotiation counseling, it focuses on improving the client's experiences of identity validations and reducing the experiences of invalidations. So ito kasi is the this type of counseling is teaches that people who have what they call this one multiple or plural identities which are continuously changing, competing for dominance, and proving to be more or less adaptive in any given situations. So the goal of this treatment is for clients to become more effective at working within their interpersonal context to resolve the identity confusions and conflict. So, nangyayari kasi ito sa mga younger generations, usually even the late adult na rin siguro, yung hindi pa yung something na hindi pa nila ma-identify kung ano ang pagkatao nila o gender identity nila. So, they are having difficulties in dealing with their environment, with the people. So, halimbawa, ikaw, ang sabi ng tao, ang ang sabi ay isa kang tunay na lalaki, where in fact sa puso mo hindi ka naman tunay na lalaki o hindi ka naman tunay na babae. So iba yung conflicting siya. So doon, nahihirapan ka talaga mag-adjust kung hindi ka pa mag-adjust or makipag-deal with the environment. Especially you are having difficulties with interpersonal relationships. So the goal of this law daw, diba, is for you to adapt with the changing environment. So with the society where you interact. So, and this counseling is saglit lang siya, relatively brief, and generally requires around or more or less than 15 sessions only. So, yun po.
So next is the Identity Renegotiation Counseling, or IRC. It also focuses on improving the client's experience of identity validation and reducing their experience of invalidation. IRC teaches that people have plural identities which are continuously changing, competing for dominance, and proving to be more or less adaptive in any given situation. Um, um, since the identity renegotiation counseling, I think the goal is to support the people to understanding the people's problem, and also to have a plan for organizing um, the helping processes. Um, for example, the value differences, and also the seeing the strengths in conflicting viewpoints, appreciate universal woman needs for validation and support, to become more sensitive to ways in which people coordinate thoughts, behavior, and feelings, and also to develop the skills for collaborating to achieve the mutually desired changes, and also helps to reduce the problems by um, renegotiating identities with our loved ones, and employers, workers, and etc. Next is the Ericksonian psychotherapy. It is a form of psychotherapy in which the therapist works with the client to create through hypnosis. Dr. Erickson, um, um, he spent many years to developing the effective and practical methods of treatment, in which may or may not involve the formal induction of trance. Um, Dr. Erickson. describe the therapy as a way of helping the patients in extend their limits and having spent his own life doing just that.
But remember, in determining whether one counseling approach works better than another, it is very difficult kasi nga, because there are so many variables to consider in counseling process. For example, if you try to compare the effectiveness of two counselors, halimbawa, applying same theoretical model or strategy, there can be a major differences in counseling outcome due to, first, of course, the differences in the client's histories, kumbaga, iba-iba tayo ng kliyente, and the situations. So, differences in the counselor's communication, kung paano iba yung pag, pag communicate mo sa isa, iba rin strategy niya. So, kakaiba yun siya. So, and even the differences in the counselor's mood, kumbaga, yung mood mo isang araw ay ganito, medyo affected ka, yung isang counselor, ganito ang pag-deal niya sa the same day, iba naman, ganito, iba. So, hindi siya pare-pareho. So, such differences daw are hard to control for experimentally. So, thus making it almost impossible to prove that one approach to counseling is, to call this one, is absolute best way. So, kaya iba nga, ang ginagawa nila daw is pinakahalo-halo yung what we call this one, yung strategies o yung theories na gagamitin nila. So, ano daw, without such proof, it becomes the responsibility of the counselors to do all they can to see, o lahat ng gagawin nila to see that the treatment models they apply are the best one to address the client's needs. So, that's the responsibility starts with becoming familiar with the models that they have shown to be the most beneficial in the actual practice. So, magkakaiba yan.
So again, the constructionist is a learner collaboration, or the students can learn when participating in project-based activities, so that the students can acquire the knowledge na to get involved in it. So when the students involved, they construct a theory so that they can see it, they can feel it or touch it, and it almost like a learning style. Um, so the constructionist theory is the students is not just heard but to try and to explore how it comes together as a whole. Then the students will learn when they are part of an activity. So um, an activity will able to create a meaningful photo or meaningful definition. For example, the students will learn the concept of the half in a fraction, and also the students know how to cut or to cut a fruit in half, and they can see also what really half means. So overall, as a future teacher, I am not a teacher. I also act as a facilitators. Also, I have to implement the instructional materials like manipulations for my students to be able to involve or to listen and fully comprehend what I wanted to teach or what they wanted to know, to understand. And also, I can give them a visual aid, and also I can give them the activities that can apply the knowledge that can acquire. And that's all. Thank you for listening.